Welcome to another match preview here on Stones TV and on the Maidstone United podcast, where we look ahead to our latest return league home game. It's our final home regular season match of the season, and it's a Kent derby against Tonbridge Angels. So we recorded this edition before the Good Friday matches, so we don't know how the Stones, or anyone else for that matter, got on, but we can look ahead to the other top 8 fixtures on Easter Monday. The Stones, of course, host Tonbridge, more on them and that shortly. Borehamwood are hosting Enfield Town. Eastbourne Borough will travel to Salisbury. Torquay host relegated Weymouth, and two massive top 8 head-to-heads. Weston-super-Mare are hosting Truro, and Worthing will host Dorking. So Nigel, it's so tight up the top and the bottom still, and surely you'd think some of these fixtures will help decide the title and the playoff running order and even the relegation spots, won't they?
You know, with Easter being so late this year and the two games over the 4 days, it's gonna certainly sort the movers and the shakers out, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's just gonna set it all up going into that last day of the season. But I'm sure it's there's still going to be some twists and turns on that last day of the season because it's so close. There's no team's going to be able to get that advantage to put it sort of at another team out of sight.
Yeah.
So again, it's all to play for.
So the comings and goings at Longmead since Boxing Day. Bailey Akehurst, who enjoyed a loan spell with the club in March 2023, was welcomed back for a second spell to act as cover for Liam Vincent. Gianluca Botti, a 23-year-old striker, arrived at the club from Lewis. He was with Chertsey Town last season, scored 31 goals to help them gain promotion. 18-year-old midfielder Mikey Berry arrived from Ashford United. Jack Wood returned on loan until the end of the season from Southend United, having been with the Angels in the 22-23 season. Nyan Grant, a member of their under-18 squad this season, earned a scholarship place with Gillingham's Academy after a successful trial period. Jeremy Santos went out on a month's loan to Isthmian League Premier club Canvey Island. There was then a double loan signing from Wigan Wanderers. 21-year-old midfielder Christy Ward and Brodie Pert, a 19-year-old forward, both arrived on an initial 1 month's loan. Garrett Kelly then left the club and went back to Welling, as we mentioned in our previous preview. Forward Trevan Robinson left for Rains Park Vale FC after he made a total of 36 appearances, scoring 7 times. Crossley Lima then left the club after joining from Welling United last summer. Like Trevan, he also made 36 appearances this season. And young forward Luke Cook signed on until the end of the season as cover for injuries to Mo Dabra and Gianluca Botti. So Nigel, lots of player transfers in there, but surely the biggest transfer was the future and then present departure of Jay Saunders to Folkestone Invicta as manager.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about it previously on our Chelmsford podcast, didn't we? With Robbie Simpson announcing that he was going to leave. It's a difficult one, isn't it? You don't know how different players react in different ways, don't they? Tonbridge have since announced who the replacement is.
Yep.
The manager from Lewis is going to go in there in the season, but he's still down at Lewis. So, they are playing managerless, really. I know Scott Wagstaff stepped up and, taken over the reins till the end of the season, but, will he still be there next year? There's all these, he's coming to the end of his career and he had that relationship with Jay Saunders anyway, so it's all a bit of a messy situation, isn't it, really? And it just, I'm sure the players are honest enough and, they've got the integrity to go out and play, but when it comes to it, and you're going into a 50-50 tackle, is there going to be that same bite there, that same intensity in the game that you'd want, for a team as a Tonbridge fan? Obviously they initially got that result at Western last weekend, and but for the sorry incident with the supporter there, that they could have held on and got a win. So, that's a positive that they can draw on that. I know it didn't go well for them on Tuesday evening in the rescheduled game, but there's positives there, and like we said before previously, some of the players will be sort of like maybe not playing for like to get a contract at Tonbridge next year, but they still want to sort of remain in this league or maybe go up higher if they're a younger player and they've got aspirations to do that. So it can go one or two ways, but again, it's just as Jay would always say, it's one of those, isn't it? It's a difficult situation to be in, really.
So the key men so far this season for the Angels: goalkeeper Matthew Rowley has 7 clean sheets in his 31 matches at time of recording. Defender Jamie Fielding in his 4th season with the Angels. He's only missed a couple of games so far this season. He has scored twice at time of recording, both at Longmead. One was a winner against Dorking in October. The other turned out to be a consolation against Enfield in December. And Liam Vincent and Sean Shields are both former Stones against the Stones. Liam is on 9 goals for the season at time of recording. His most recent strike was in a 2-0 home win against our Good Friday opponents Welling United back in February, and he got the consolation back on Boxing Day against the Stones. And Sean Shields on 10 goals in the league at time of recording. His most recent goal was the opener at home to Chelmsford in their 2-1 win last month. His goals have earned his side 19 points this season so far. So Nigel, some of those key men are those we've seen firsthand before. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, most of them weren't available on Tuesday.
Yeah, so again, it's going to see how they recover from that. Again, it's sort of that, a lot of these players, you're thinking to yourself, I've done enough. If you're 50-50 with an injury that, it might just be a strain or something, are you going to risk yourself? You might potentially be moving on next season anyway. Because the new manager's not in situ, so they haven't got to impress anybody. It's like the new managers come in and they've got to impress to get a contract at Tonbridge. If their agents have lined up something somewhere away, they're gonna advise their player to look after themselves to the end of the season, especially with somebody who like Liam Vincent, who's notoriously in and out of injury anyway. He's never had a run in the team, and this is, I think, Tonbridge's problem. They've all got big game players, but they've never been able to put that run of consistency together. They teetered on the edge of the playoffs, didn't they, round about the turn of the year time, but they just can't seem to get those run of games together, and they get a good result like a 0-0 or a draw away at Boreham Wood, and then go and at home against Enfield when they were bottom of the league, go and lose that game quite convincingly. So it's very frustrating, and that's what Jay said, didn't he, in his sort of like interview when he left Tonbridge. He feels he's taken them as far as they can go, and a lot of these players are performing to that sort of edge of the top 10 level, but have they got the quality and to go on and be serious contenders for them playoff places? And this season has again proved to be that sort of like, them few games just too far. They just seem to run out of steam in those games. But saying that, it's a local derby, and I'm sure the fans have made the players all too well aware of what it means to them, and maybe it might be one last hurrah for them before next season and moving on. Yeah.
So the form since last we met the Angels on Boxing Day, they've played 21 league matches before the Easter weekend, and at time of recording it's 10 home matches, including 4 wins against Western, Slough, Welling and Chelmsford, 1 draw and 5 defeats. There's 11 away games, including 2 wins against Enfield and Chesham, 2 draws, 7 defeats. The Angels have only spent about 6 weeks of this entire season outside of the top half, and considering how close and competitive each third of the league has been, that's an achievement in and of itself. And it's also worth noting that the end of the Angels season is hugely pivotal for the Stones. They've obviously twice travelled to Western in recent days. They of course played Hornchurch on Good Friday, result unknown at time of recording. They're not pivotal in the top 8 race. Then the Stones host the Angels on Easter Monday before they themselves then host Boreham Wood on the final day. So kingmakers, to use one of yours from earlier this season, Nigel.
A lot of these teams, like we mentioned Slough and Hornchurch and Tonbridge, although they've not got anything to play for positional wise themselves, they could still have a big say on where the teams in that top 7, top 8 do finish come the end of the season.
So if you can't remember all of the players from the previous meeting, then why not head back to our previous preview video and podcast from this season for more information on Monday's opponents. The links to the video and podcast are both in the description below. And if you can't make it to the game, be sure to tune in to Nigel here and Alex on Stones Live. They'll be on air from 12:40 due to the earlier 1 o'clock kickoff time. You'll see them on the hot take and hear them on the highlights once they go online. And please remember that if you can make it to the game, that you cannot purchase a ticket on the day. This is an all-ticket fixture, so please purchase before Easter Monday online. The in-person sales window is shut by the time you watch or listen to this, and following the full-time whistle, Stones fans are invited to stay on for the presentation of the manager's player, players player and supporters player of the season. They'll be announced on the pitch. The Spitfire Lounge will be open throughout the afternoon. The players, management will be popping in after the end of season presentation for autographs and selfies, and if you're lucky, maybe even Nigel and myself might pop in too. So well, until a couple of weeks ago, we would have been saying that this would be Jay Saunders' last trip to the Gallagher's Tonbridge boss, but that's gone out the window, so let's just call it what it is. It's a last chance for the Stones to get a potentially massive 3 points at home this season before whatever the end of this season brings for Maidstone United. Our thanks, as always, to you for watching or listening to the latest preview. Like and subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for the Maidstone United podcast. See or hear you for our final preview of the regular season ahead of the Stones trip to Farnborough. And as always,
Come on, you Stones!